Well, here we are, Chris and John on a Saturday afternoon, late December, right before Christmas. And I think we're going to talk about sales and sales management, Chris, and why it's so vitally important to understand the role in any business, how important those two roles are, that they are the most important roles, but sometimes that's not recognized. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I love chopping it up with you, John. And I got to tell you that, in any organization, I don't care what you are, professional sports league, a nutrition company, a liquor company, it doesn't matter who you are. The company survives based on the sales. And it's super important that companies work together as a team to try and make sure that every part of the sales process is going smoothly. And that means when the sale is brought in, the customer is taken great care of, because when you take care of your customers, they generate referrals, which generates more sales. And give you a great example, I was just talking to you about the National Basketball Association. Their sales in the last 12 years have dropped by 48% because their product is losing fans. They're losing fans at a massive rate. Now, their salespeople are people like LeBron James and the stars of the league. So when their sales are down, you have to lean on your salespeople to improve their effort, improve the game.
And sometimes what happens is organizations forget that, the trains don't move, the trucks don't move, the airplanes don't fly until somebody sells something. Let me give you an example. 40 some odd years ago, I got out of college. I'd gotten into network marketing. My first network marketing company ran into some challenges with the FDA. And my parents kind of directed me to talk to a guy in the insurance business. And I went out and I got a license and I went to work for Metropolitan Life in New York. And I went to a meeting. I qualified to go to a meeting after about a year in that business. And I was doing well. I was doing very well for a young guy in a tough business. And I go to this meeting, and there's probably 1,000 sales reps at that meeting. And we're in Manhattan, and I never forget what happened, Chris. It was unbelievable. A guy by the name of Bob Crimmins gets up. And Bob was VP of sales, I think, for the entire region. It may have been for the entire metropolitan, but certainly for that region. And New York, MetLife's a very, very big company, very dominant company in that region, at least at that time. So Mr. Crimmins gets up and he says, because of my role in the company, I'm always multitasking. I might have reports in front of me and somebody on the phone, or somebody comes in my office. It's a three-ring circus all day. I'm busy from the time I walk in the office till the time I leave at the end of the day. He says, but there's an exception to that. He says, and that exception is that when a guy named Mehdi Fakhrizadeh, now some of you might laugh at that name, Mehdi Fakhrizadeh. It's a funny name.
What did you call me?
It sounds like something else. What's that?
What did you just call me?
Yeah, I called you Mehdi Fakhrizadeh. And
the next time I get pissed off at somebody, I'm just going to say, Mehdi Fakhrizadeh.
Exactly. But Mehdi was Persian. And as his name suggests, Mehdi's a very common name in Iran. But anyway, Mr. Mehdi, we used to call him out of respect because he was extremely successful. The numbers this guy was turning in the 70s and 80s were unbelievable. But anyhow, true legend in the life insurance business. Anybody in the insurance business for a long time knows the name Mehdi Fakhrizadeh, Ben Feldman, Joe Gandolfo. Those were the big names, at least back then. Anyhow, Bob Crimmins made a very relevant point that I don't want our listeners to miss. And here's what he told us, Chris. He said, when Mehdi calls me, I put down everything else and I listen, because I understand that when Mehdi stops selling, I don't have a job. And oh, by the way, neither do the accountants, the lawyers, the underwriters, the other people in the company. And that lesson on that day by Bob Crimmins was very, very valuable to me. And I've tried to maintain it. I always haven't done a good job of it. But I've tried to maintain it in my business philosophically to always think that the most important thing in any organization in business is the sales process. The accounting department, the legal department, the shipping department, the customer service people, all important, all extremely important in any business. But they are there as functionaries to support the man or the woman on the front line selling the product. Be it that they're selling a nutritional supplement in network marketing, be it that they're selling a skincare product in network marketing, be it that they're selling a life insurance policy in the insurance business, be it that they're selling an automobile, a piece of real estate, whatever it happens to be, that all of those support people are there and need to do their job well. But at the end of the day, if that person that's interfacing with that customer is not supported well and can't do his or her job well, that the whole process ceased to exist. And I'll give you one other example, and it just happened about an hour ago. I get a phone call from my eye doctor. And this is the second year in a row that this has happened. They had me booked for an appointment on the 27th of December. And they called me to let me know that they had double booked somebody else at the same time who had already confirmed the appointment, and I hadn't confirmed it yet. Well, I didn't know I needed to confirm when you made the appointment with me a year ago. Now, last year I went to the office and they told me that that happened and I left. This year I don't have to go. But I made a point to the young lady who called me, and I wasn't beating her up. She was just communicating a message. But I said to her, look, you need to tell the doctor, I work on commissionable sales. I've already told people on the 27th in the afternoon that I'm unavailable because I was coming for my annual eye doctor appointment. You cost me money. Okay, because now I've told other people who've made other appointments or other things that they have to do on that day, right? Especially this particular week, Christmas week. Okay, but here's my point. The sales process fell apart in that organization today. In my case. Now, will I go back to that eye doctor? Yes, they're a good eye doctor. I will go back to them. I'll forgive them. It's not the end of the world. Okay, we'll rebook. But I insisted on not rebooking right now because I wanted that young lady to carry that message back to whoever made that decision to double book that day. Now, maybe they do that because it's the holiday. I don't know. Okay, all I know is I could easily find another eye doctor. I'm choosing not to in my case. But at the end of the day, another person might just say, you know what? I'm not important enough that you figured you'd book two people at the same time. I'll find someone else. That sale would be lost. That $1,000 pair of eyeglasses would be lost. The medical care for my insurance company.
Don, you wear $1,000 eyeglasses? What do you got? Gucci? Ferragamo?
I don't know. I don't know what they cost. I mean, I buy these things at Walgreens, but I buy one pair of prescription and I buy all the junk ones to go with it. But the point is,
we went down to 15 with our.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry.
During COVID, and these
stupid autoplay.
The point is, all these things are functions of a business. Okay. But I go back to Mr. Crimmins' point that day in my thinking over and over, and I see this so often, this repeated, where we take that salesperson for granted in an organization. We think that salesperson is not that, their job is easy. The accounting department's job is hard. No, it's not. You're counting numbers. Okay. The customer service, no, somebody's getting a sale. They're calling you, giving their credit card. All important and relevant. And you want the best people capable in all of those roles. But at the end of the day, they never supersede sales. And the most successful organizations in network marketing, the most successful organizations in the life insurance business, the most successful organizations in the real estate business, the most successful organizations in anything. Okay, there in Las Vegas where you live, Chris, the best sales organizations of the leading hotels there. Okay, right? Because you got a lot of hotels there, and some of them are sucking wind and some of them are probably kicking butt. The best ones, the salespeople, are supported by all the other functions of that business. And at the end of the day, they're always respected. And the top salespeople are always put up at a different level and taken care of categorically, where their needs are met and heard. And when there's a problem, Or sometimes it's not a problem. Sometimes it's an opportunity for the organization. The people on the other end of the phone drop what they're doing and listen attentively and say, how can we be of service and how can we support that process to get that sale for you, which gets that sale for us, which feeds that food chain of accounting and legal and customer service, et cetera, keeps all those other people employed. And that's my message for today. That's what I wanted to talk with you about. I know you've got opinions on this as well, but I wanted to kind of set that up with that story of Crimmins. And then, like I said, ironically, an hour ago, I get this phone call on a Saturday afternoon, 4 days before an appointment, that, you know, I'm not that important to that organization, that they'll let me go because somebody else is more important that they booked at the same time.
Yeah, I think your point is excellent. And what you did with that eye doctor was really good, because sometimes you have to reevaluate your relationship with your prospects and customers, because if you don't have somebody that makes you reevaluate and think through it, you don't realize there might be a problem.
Exactly. You know, let's talk about this a little further though. Let's talk about this another way. So when we look at the difference between the organizations that run pretty much foolproof, at least to the public. Internally, every organization has challenges, right? But I look, for example, at Amazon as an organization that to me is so extremely well run. I mean, it runs like a Swiss watch. Now they've got competition. Okay, they got other people trying to do the same thing. They got other people that are doing the same thing. But why are they so successful in what they do versus those people who are trying to compete with them, who just are not getting anywhere near them in terms of sales or revenue? What's your thoughts on that?
You know, I think at the end of the day, people have to prioritize things that are important. And as a organization, people sometimes prioritize administrative positions more important in some cases than sales and marketing. And they sometimes lose sight of the fact that their administrators don't get paid if the sales and marketing people aren't not only doing their job, but scaling. See, recently, last 4 months, I've started using AI to scale my life, to scale my business. And I get 40,000 man hours of work done at night while I sleep every single night by an AI tool that basically does sales and marketing for me. It does the grunt work. And a lot of companies don't understand that if that part of your business isn't scaling, meaning growing, the rest of your company is going to stagnate and die. Just like if you left an apple out on the counter and it just sat there for a couple of days, well, eventually that apple is going to turn brown, rot, have flies all over it, and you're going to throw that apple in the garbage. Well, that's what happens with sales organizations that ignore the value of not only their sales and marketing teams, but more importantly, the fact that they've got to scale their sales and marketing teams. They've got to literally give their sales and marketing teams tools that make their job so fucking easy that it's almost like getting a river of orders, a river of customers.
And you know, you make a good point, because you know, in the sales process, you're either green and growing or you're brown and dying. There is no status quo. There's no status quo. You're either growing as an organization or you're dying as an organization, right?
It really is. And in 2025, more than any other year, if you're not scaling at a massive clip, there are companies out there that are probably competing with you that are using AI to do thousands of hours of work, man hours, like human being hours of work every single night, that are going to pass you by. And you're going to sit there and go, holy shit, how did that company do that?
Well, you know, you look at the technology that you've been part of creating, that I'm a customer of. Okay, I'm Chris's customer, by the way. Okay, so Chris gives me incredible customer service, because when I call him on a Saturday afternoon and say, hey, I got an idea, I need to talk, I need somebody to kind of interview me and work with me a little bit here, Chris doesn't drop everything. He says, wait an hour. But that's okay. An hour's okay. A week's not okay.
Because I was interviewing your buddy that wrote an amazing book.
Interviewing a friend of mine. But follow
Shout
me
out to Dennis.
But follow me for a second, Chris. You give me good customer service, okay? Because you understand the sales process, right? And so let's go one step further, okay? Because Chris has helped to create a technology that you all should know about if you're watching this, okay? Whether you're a podcaster or not, you're all salespeople. You're all sales management people. And here's how I see it, and you elaborate on it. The tool has been created, and you just referenced it, but you went fast, so I want to go a little slow. I want to break this down for a second. Now, I live here in Plano, Texas, Richardson, Texas, actually, but our high school is Plano East High School. Okay, so if you had a kid and you lived down my street, your kid's going to go to Plano East High School. Very famous high school, by the way. Lance Armstrong went there for a short time, number of professional athletes, etc., actors. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the technology that Chris's company has created for salespeople like us is very, very unique in this respect. If I went up to Plano East tomorrow and I said to some young man or woman that was graduating, come to work for me now, and I want you to spend your career doing nothing but listening to podcasts every single night that match up to me. Okay, now in my case, there's keywords. Okay, what are the keywords with me? Well, I've got several businesses, but my main business revolves around a product in the healthcare field that helps to elevate glutathione. It's a master antioxidant, as just a couple of keywords, for example, that we'll talk about, okay? Now, you go out there, and there's about 800,000 English podcasts as we speak that we know about. Now, you listen to about 40 of them.
Actually, there's 3.875 million podcasts, but on any given night, like last night alone, our AI transcribed 642,317 podcasts.
Okay, so that's even better. A better example. So you go out every night, listen to about 40 of them. You know, put them on the fastest speed. Listen to them if they're talking about anything that you think I'd be interested in talking to them about, or they'd be talking to me about. Okay, and that they would interview me. Okay, so I could talk about my product. Okay, and my business opportunity. Okay, if there's any of them great, the ones that don't fit, take them off the list. Maybe they could do 40 a night if they were really efficient. Maybe if they used the fast forward speed. Now think about that for a second. I would hire that young man or woman right now that's graduating high school, and when they were ready to retire, when they got to their 60s, they wouldn't be done. One person. They could spend their entire professional life listening to podcasts, as opposed to using AI, and in one night, AI could go in and scrub through all of those podcasts and say, hey, John, these people are interested in you, you're interested in them, and it's kind of like a dating service. They're going to meet us up, and then, you know, we'll see times and all that kind of stuff. Now, that's not just for me. I happen to be in the health nutrition field, okay? But whatever field you're in, this is something that Chris's company can do for you. So you're going to want to certainly reach him, and he'll tell you how to do that.
Hey, John, so I look at sales as like a pyramid. And if you look at a sales organization and effort, everything's like a pyramid. And at the bottom of the pyramid, you could probably turn the pyramid upside down and make it a funnel. But at the end of the day, you got to start with prospecting. And then you have relationships, and then you have sales calls, and then you have to close and ask for the order, and then you have to write up the order, and then you have to service the order. So like that's a whole funnel process. But all of this stuff here at the top, the whole prospecting thing, the whole getting emails sent out, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. Because when you do a podcast, you're actually selling people on your personal brand. You're letting them get to know you. The thing that Donald Trump did this last year in the election is he did over 300 podcasts. One which he did was 3 hours with Joe Rogan, which gave people a lot of information where they could look at him and understand him as a person. They're like, wait a second, I know this guy. I want this guy to be the president. This guy has my values. Whereas the other candidate did like Call Her Daddy, some sex talk podcast. And that was it. Nobody knew her. And podcasting, in 2025, I tell people this all the time. Podcasts and AI should be the key components for you to scale your business. And when I say scale your business, if you get all the prospecting, all that prospecting effort, and you can hand that off to an AI, basically a robot, that saves you time where all you're doing is the important stuff, where all you're doing is podcasts. I did 6 podcasts yesterday. I'm doing 4 today. if all you can do is the high value things where people see your face, granted, let's be honest, look at this round head, this gorgeous face. They need to see your face. They need to get to know you. Oh, that's the guy that talks with his hands. Oh, that's the guy that's got 4 dogs. That's the guy that's got the kick-ass chair that he farts in all the time. They want to know you. They want to hear your stories. And when people get to know you, people buy from people they
Like,
exactly. And
exactly.
if people like you, and how do they like you? They get to see you over and over and over again. It's called frequency. In the last, let's say 2 weeks to, let's say conservatively 2 weeks to a month, how has the frequency of your brand and your message and who you are as a person, how has that changed?
Oh, it's just getting out more. It's taking my 40+ year career, and I've been successful. I've been lucky, and I've been blessed, and I've worked hard. I got to say, I've worked hard, which a lot
You
of
do
people
grind hard. I got to give you that. You are straight up an American hustler.
Yeah, I am. I believe in hard work. You know, I come from people that worked hard. You know, we were construction people. We came from the other side of the world and didn't speak the language. And you know, my ancestors built a great organization, great electrical union that they were part of, that they helped to create, and worked their butts off. And weren't afraid to work. And the other side of my family, you know, different business models, but same thing, and weren't afraid to work. But anyway, the working hard is really important. But what AI does and podcasting does is it helps you to work smarter. Because
Exactly.
I mean, I had a lady last night, and I don't know why, but this lady, she went up to my Instagram, and my Instagram's like brand new. I mean, we got like 8 points on it, and she judged me by my Instagram, which was her mistake. And fortunately, she did reach to me. She basically said, "You're a nobody because you only have like 8 posts on your Instagram." And we wrote back, and I said, "No, I got 42 years in the industry. Here's what I've done. Here's who I am. Here's who I interview. And call any of them. They're all household words in network marketing. They'll all tell you, you know, who I am. And, you know, hopefully they'll say nice things about me. I think they all will. And I've written 4 books, and I've written 40+ articles in the industry. And I've consulted for 3 of the largest companies in the industry. I've been a top distributor in 4 companies in the industry. So if you want me on your show, terrific. And if you're not, oh, well, you know, so be it. No big deal. But I'll make a bigger point about that. I would not have met that person without AI. Okay. And I don't know whether she'll interview me or not.
I'll even go one step further. I bet you that girl's podcast fits your audience target market. Would you agree?
Probably does. I would say what I looked at last night, I would say that it probably does. But here's what it really does, Chris, is it really becomes a online, if you will, dating service of matching up people with similar.
Well, actually, I tell people literally it's this. It's a digital assistant. It's a digital version of John Solleder.
Exactly. So,
and here's the crazy thing. As you write more, as the AI works for you week after week after week, you've seen the increase in engagement because the AI is watching your replies back and forth. The AI is starting to learn how you like to communicate. The AI is starting to become more of the digital version of John Solleder.
And let me go one step further, because AI to me is probably the greatest singular business building tool ever created.
Absolutely.
But there's another side to it. It's also the scariest tool ever created. Now, why is it scary to me as an old guy? Okay, who understands economics, all right, who's got a minor degree in of all the degrees that I have, one of them is in economics. A lot of people are going to be unemployed because of AI. And you go, whoa, what do you mean by that, John? Well, here's what I mean by that. I'm not going to hire that high school kid and employ him for the next 40 years. Number one, I won't live long enough to pay him. And number two, what he should do is go learn AI. Why? Because at the end of the day, it would be redundant to hire a human being to do what a machine can do for me for not for free. There's a cost to this. No, it's a nominal cost, not a big cost. Okay. But why would I hire somebody? I don't have to pay that robot health insurance. I don't have to pay that FICA, that Social Security tax. I don't have to pay any of my self-employment taxes when I pay that computer. I don't have to pay any of that. Okay. Well, I'm one guy with one well, a couple of businesses, but one business in particular that I'm using this for. All right. I'm one guy. What if I was Elon Musk? What if I was Warren Buffett? What if I was whoever, Mark Cuban, some huge person with multiple businesses? And I say, everywhere where we can use AI, we're now using AI and no longer a human being. So as a human being, if you don't go get those new skills of learning what to do with AI, you're going to be in trouble. Now you're listening.
Well, here's what I tell everyone. In
Yeah,
2025, 95% of the workforce is going to be, the wealth gap is going to separate them from about 5% who are embracing AI. And you're either going to find yourself part of this massive crowd of people that are being left behind and literally trying to play catch up to these people that are literally getting. And by the way, there's two ways of looking at AI. One, there's tools out there where you can use it and it speeds up something for a short period of time. The other way to use AI is to create a digital assistant that works 24 hours a day. And that's what I think we're talking about right here. Is people think, oh yeah, I use this tool and it's AI based and it saves me 5 minutes. Okay, that's great. That's really good. But you got to find a way to get AI to work for you 24 hours a day, because that's where the real value of AI is. When AI can do all this work here at the top and it saves you time to do all the important work down here at the bottom, your time becomes more valuable. And now you're actually absolutely able to squeeze more value out of your time.
Well, to that point, that's a great point, Chris. Go one step further. What it does in my business, okay? It gives me the opportunity to do what I do best. What do I do best? I train on my 42 years experience. The millions of distributors that I've helped over the years, not only in my own companies, but in other companies, people I've trained and have gone on, left me and gone somewhere else and did it again elsewhere and taught the same philosophical things that I taught. Okay. That's one thing it does. The other thing it does, okay, is once again, it speeds up the process. Okay. So I can spend the time in my business doing what I'm really good at. Now, my wife will tell you, I'm only good at about this many things, okay? But I might be the best in the world at them, okay? I think I am, all right? In certain aspects of network marketing, I think I'm the best that there is. Am I? I don't know. I think I am. Great, good for me. But at the end of the day, they've made me a lot of money, okay? So if I spend 100% of my business day on the things that I'm good at, training, motivating, directing, okay, influencing, okay, in some respects, helping people see themselves maybe different than they did when I started to work with them, because part of what I do is get somebody to see that they can do better than they did previously, okay, in their life. All right. If I spend my time doing that, as opposed to a lot of the other functions of my business that I normally had to do, I'm going to be that much more effective. And I don't care, once again, if you're in insurance, if you're in real estate, if you're in pharma sales, if you're in automobile sales, if you're in boat sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in recruiting, if you're in any type of business that revolves, and by the way, this is every business that revolves of a consumer, be they a company or an individual, getting out their credit card or their checking account, okay, and transacting business with you, which is every business I think on the planet, just about. Okay. If that's the case, if that's your business, you got to learn AI so that you can, to Chris's point, take that robot, let that robot work for you, and do all the stuff that you don't want to do, can't do, have no desire to do, hate doing, and you then do what you do best. Let me give you an old example. I used this in trainings many years ago. When I lived in New York, I had a very nice lawn, and I didn't plant it, by the way. The builder planted it, so I get no credit for this beautiful lawn. But I had this beautiful lawn, and I liked to cut the lawn because to me it was cardio, okay, and it was resistance training. Pushing a lawnmower is resistance training, and I would take about 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon to cut that lawn during the nice time of the year. And then one day somebody said to me, one of my mentors, he said, you realize how much money you make per day? And I said, I never really thought about it. and I took out the 8 hours roughly for sleep, another couple hours for exercise, another couple hours for, goofing off, watching TV, doing all the stuff that, we always claim in business we don't do. Yeah, we do it. Yeah, I watch TV, not that much, but I watch it. Okay, take all of that out. And they said, how many hours do you think you're really working, John? I said, let's say 8. And I was making X amount of dollars at that time. Okay. And we figured out that an hour of my time was worth about $400 working hour.
Yeah, I could see that all day long.
Those 2 hours cutting the lawn cost me $800. Now, I didn't pay a landscaper, but I wasn't going to pay a landscaper $800 to push a lawnmower. I was going to pay him probably $50. Well, all of a sudden, when I started to look at it like that, I juxtaposed his point. It was a great point, and he was right on, that I needed to have somebody who I could pay a lot less than I make per hour do that. Even though I enjoyed cutting the lawn, there were other exercises that I could do, and what we're doing, frankly, that I could find somebody to do that, so I could save that time. So on Saturday afternoons, I could conduct back then training classes, which I started to do, and my income went up. Well, that's a minor example comparative to using AI. Now, AI, I don't think you get to cut your lawn. I still think you still need somebody to do that. But at the end of the day, a lot of other things in business that you can offset to technology, do it. And then, Chris, let's talk about podcasting, but thoughts further thoughts on the AI and how your system works.
I mean, literally, I will say, I don't care what people do to get AI to work for them. But at the end of the day, I think it's mission critical that people have AI work for them, because look at Amazon. They just announced, I want to say yesterday or a couple of days ago here in Vegas, they laid off right before Christmas 17,000 human beings. And these were people that took the box off the conveyor belt, put it in a thing for the truck drivers to come get. And guess who's doing it now?
The robot. Yeah.
AI-powered robots are now stacked. And by the way, they don't make any mistakes. The boxes get stacked perfectly. Nothing breaks. Nobody slips and falls. No union, blah, blah, blah. 17,000 people were making $22 an hour, and now they're making $0 an hour because Amazon said, you know what? We can get this robot for, I think they paid $38,000 for each robot. And now they've got a $38,000 employee that will work 24 hours a day.
And I'm sad to hear that. My heart goes out to those families that affected by something like that. But at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about happening, because that robot. Years ago I was watching CNBC and Warren Buffett was being interviewed by Becky Quick, and Buffett made a great comment. He said that when you employ 200,000 people, you basically get sued every day. Somebody cuts a finger off, somebody backs a truck up into somebody trips and falls, somebody, just stuff happens, right? 200,000 human beings working in different environments, different things. Somebody's always suing you, and it's just kind of a cost of doing business. Well, if you're Warren Buffett or somebody that has multiple businesses, and you recognize how much money you've probably spent in legal and in settlements over the years with people, and you say a $38,000 robot's cheap compared to a human being. Now, I'm not minimizing human beings, folks, at all. Please don't get us wrong what either Chris or I are saying here. But this is the reality economically of where we find ourselves in 2025. So how are you going to employ yourself if you have not gotten into a good network marketing situation or some other selling situation? Okay, because our listeners are all sorts of people, all sorts of different business ventures that they're in. So whatever you're in, great. But if you're not in something where you're working for yourself, you better look at it and you better say, how do I use AI? And to Chris's earlier point, let's talk about podcasting for a minute. My podcasting career is one that's been interesting to say the least. I started because I had written 2 books, one that came out at the end of 2019 called Moving Up 2020. I was like, we're going to have this amazing year in 2020, Chris. It came out in November of 2019 for 2020 distribution. And then my other one, Leaving Nothing to Chance, came out in January 2020. And then, I don't know what happened. Around the first week of February, we started hearing these rumors about some stuff that was happening in China that had started to spread into the United States and elsewhere. And all of a sudden, I'm due to be in about 18 cities over about the next 90 days doing meetings for my company and for a couple of other not just my company, but other companies in the network marketing field that had invited me to talk about my books. Well, all of a sudden, there are no meetings. So a good friend of mine, Dan McCormick, suggested, hey, get yourself a podcast. And he introduced me to some folks from the 𝐔𝐇𝐈𝐒 Foundation, and they told me who they were using out in California. And I picked a company, and they became my podcast partner. And I started doing podcasts. Well, long story short, it worked. Okay, it kept me relevant, and it kept me busy, and it kept me still being able not only to promote my books, which are on Amazon, by the way, if anybody wants to buy them, but more importantly than that, it kept me in front of live audiences that in many cases were stuck home, and people appreciated the content because they were still feeding their minds with things that we were able to do. So that's how I got into podcasting. Now, I've never done podcasting for profit. Some of you might be listening and say, hey, how come? You know, you got a big following and you've been in network marketing all these years. I've just never really did it for that. I did it for what I just told you. This is how I got into it. Now we're starting to morph into other things that we are going to make money from, and some stuff that we're doing with Chris and with a couple other people. But my greater point about that is, if you don't have a podcast, it's as simple as, you know, getting your act together, contact somebody like Chris, let him help you, you know, through the process and use some of the tools that his company has. And second to that, you can just get on YouTube, okay, and start talking and start sharing relevant information, not just getting on there and gabbing, but you got to share relevant information. I watch some podcasts and I get to the end of them and I'm like, what was the point? Well, how am I ever going to get those 30 minutes back? I wish I'd paid that robot, you know, Chris. So get on there and always talk about some relevant things that are either timely or they're significant within the business expertise that you have in a given area within a business that people are going to follow because you're good at network marketing, or you're good at fishing, or you're good at bowling, or you're good at whatever it is that you're good at, that people want to hear, that want to be good at what you do already. Thoughts, Chris?
Hey, John, talk a little bit about not so much the podcast of being interviewed on podcasts and telling your story to the audience, but talk about the relationships you're making with podcast hosts and the value of those relationships.
Well, well, first of all, I've wound up with at least 3 other podcasters that have become distributors in my network marketing business. And here's the thing, they're all really good at social market influencing. Some of them have as many as 1 million followers on their respective different, you know, their Instagrams and their TikToks and all the other things that they do. So that's really exciting to see what happens with my company's products with their social media relationships, right? That's one thing. Secondly, we're going to be going to the Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks in New Orleans. Okay. And
wait a second, you're going to the Super Bowl?
I'm going to the Super Bowl. Some guy
You're going to hang out at Super Bowl week?
I'm going to hang out at Super Bowl week. Yeah, I got invited to a couple of parties over there because I'm a client of Chris Champion.
Wow.
And he knows how to, he listens to Bob Crimmins, and he knows when John Solleder talks, you invite him to the Super Bowl.
So let me ask you a question. How you've been around a long time at a point of high value sales. How important is it for other people to learn about the value of getting in the right room with the right people at the right time?
Well, obviously, you know, you just said it. It's the right people in the right situation at the right time. What I do is not for everybody. My product is not for everybody. I think it is, but they don't necessarily agree. Okay. But it's for the people who see the value of my product and my business, okay, that they want to be part of for themselves, not for me. They want to be part of it for themselves, most importantly, right? That old radio station, WIFM, what's in it for me? It's like, okay, I see what John's saying here. I got a unique product, okay, for the immune system. I got a product that, you know, people want. It's priced at a point where there's enough profit in it to make it worth someone's while to market it. Et cetera, et cetera. And some of them are saluting that flag, and some, frankly, have no interest. But let's talk about them both, Chris, because there's 2 relationships here. One is the obvious. that we start to work with within our particular network marketing brand and business. The other is the person who says, hey, John, that was great, but I'm busy doing whatever. I'm happy doing whatever. Yeah, maybe they'll become a customer at some stage of the game. Right now, they've just got information. What happens with them? I'm still building relationships. I'm talking on their podcasts, okay, to their audiences. And their audiences, some of their audiences are going to be getting in touch with us as we go down the road with this in 2025. Their audiences are saying, hey, I want what you got. So they weren't interested, but their audiences are interested. So that's key, because you're constantly, when you're in networking, and once again, every business is networking. Like every business is sales, every business is networking. What are you doing? You're spreading the word about what you do. So somebody who woke up this morning not knowing about what you do now goes, hey, I know what you do. That's really, really the magic of it. And vice versa, by the way. I'm giving some of these people a platform with my audience because, you know, they've got things that those people want, whatever they happen to be, you know? So
I think we figured out, or not figured out, but I think we shared a lot of information today about two important things. One is scaling your business from a marketing side and really making sure that you understand that sales and marketing is the heartbeat of every company. It's what keeps every company alive, breathing, and growing. And when you get to the growing part, if you're not using AI to grow your business in 2025, sad to say, you will be left behind. Sad to say. And it is going to be very sad for a lot of people.
yeah, agreed. Agreed. And here's the thing. You can do something about it. But you got to do it. You got to do it quick. And Chris, I guess last thing I'll say on this, and I'll let you close it out for us, is I am not a technology person. Okay, it's not my interest. Never been interested in it. Okay, but at the end of the day, here's what I do realize: business evolves, and in that evolution, you either de-evolve, where you just say the heck with it, I'm not going to understand it, and I'm not going to be part of it, and I'm going to be selling, you know, buggy whips, and Henry Ford is going to be selling automobiles. Well, we know how that turned out. Okay, that's kind of how I see technology, and the lead point to technology being AI. We've been using it now for a short period of time, but I'm blown away by the results, number one. And number two, I'm too old to argue about results. When I see results with something, what am I going to do? Am I going to go reinvent the wheel? No, I'm going to use that to the best of my ability. I'm going to follow the system that never fails. And to me, AI is something that, is it foolproof? I don't know. Is it darn close? I do know that from what I've seen so far, that I cannot duplicate or replicate what it can do for my business with anything else. Therefore, I'm going to use it to the best of my ability. Thoughts, Chris?
Hey, by the way, how many connections have you made in 2 weeks that the AI has actually brought you inbound?
Too many to keep up with, but I would say at least 24 good, you know, what you refer to as high value contacts, all people who are nice people, direct, intense, as I am. Okay, not a lot of time for a bunch of BS. Okay, but all people who can move a needle and have moved a needle in their life. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking to them. And you know, what do we want in business? We want people who, if they join our business, whatever that business happens to be, they become a affiliate, an alliance, somebody that can help me move my business to the next level while they get something out of it as well. I mean, you know, nobody should work for free. I mean, they're all doing whatever they're doing to help themselves, not to help me, but it helps me in the process. Okay. And vice versa. I'm helping some of them. There's already a couple of people I've helped out with a couple of things on the other end. So, and we made, you know, we made great connections. I introduced Chris to a gentleman here in Dallas about a week ago who wrote a really, really good book, I think, that I really enjoyed reading. And Chris just did an interview with him. So, you know, it's been back and forth with some high value on both ends. And likewise with some other people, where I've talked to other people that Chris has introduced us to through the AI, And they've said, hey, John, that's not really for me, but have you talked to so-and-so? Well, I don't know so-and-so. Oh, I'll give you his number. And all of a sudden we're in a group chat and I'm talking to so-and-so who's their contact, if you can follow all that. Anyway, Chris, that's a lot on a Saturday afternoon.
We should do more of these where we chop it up and talk about sales, marketing, and business.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure.
He's John Solleder.
He's Chris Champion.
There you go.